Have you ever thought about trying a carbon frame from AliExpress? Well, I did. And in this video, I'm going to tell you about my experience with it so far. So stay tuned. Welcome to Mountain Biking with Heart, and this is my 100th video. For my 100th video, I decided I was going to do something a little special. I decided, since I like testing these cheap and budget parts from AliExpress and other places, I figured, why not build up an AliExpress frame? When I came up with the idea for this video a few months ago, I started scouring the internet everywhere. I wanted a carbon frame, preferably an all-mountain frame, 140 to 150 millimeters to travel in the rear, something I could put 150 or 160 millimeter fork on up front. So I hit up AliExpress and looked through a bunch of frames, and this frame caught my eye. I seen a virtual pivot point, kind of looks like a Santa Cruz. The geometry didn't look too far off of what I was looking for, so I figured we'll give this a try. And just so happened I was bumming around on eBay too, and I found it on German eBay, and it was cheaper. This frame, the way it sits here, was 437 euros in this color. You can pick, I guess there's 8 basic colors, and then there's a 2-tone color. You can get basic black in either gloss or in matte, and that's the cheapest. I think it's 398 euros on eBay, and then you can go all the way up to custom colors for like, I think it's 484 euros on eBay, something like that. On AliExpress, the prices are a little more expensive, but in eBay, you have to pay the shipping. The shipping gets tacked on top. Actually researched the company a little bit too. This frame is made by a company called Meinier, and they make OEM frames for a bunch of companies. None of those companies like stand out there. Like, they don't list which companies they make the frames for. Probably a non-disclosure agreement on that. But they sell this frame under the brand name Meinier or however you want to pronounce it. And here comes the name. Now you know it's from AliExpress. Here, the name of the frame is, well, I'm going to read this off to you. I got it taped off down here. 117 carbon AM, I guess all mountain, suspension frame VPP. That's the model name of this frame. I chose it in this color. It's called Milky. It's a off-white, kind of a cream color. And I figured I'd build it up in all black parts and have a little murdered out look to it. When you order the frame, they say on AliExpress and on eBay that it'll take 3 days for them to get it painted, and then it'll ship on the next day. Yeah, that didn't work out for me. It took actually 10 days to get my frame painted. I guess they were overworked. Not a big deal. They kept contacting me and told me there was the delay. Not a real big deal. It just slowed down my video. My video's coming out now late because of it, because I had to wait on the frame itself. The shipping, they say it takes 15 days. Mine took a couple days longer, but that's shipping. That's just something you got to deal with in everyday life, right? The package tracking is done through the Chinese shipping system, and it's not very good. It doesn't get updated very well, and the translations are kind of funny. Once it actually hit Germany, then the tracking updated on DPD, and it was here a few days later. When it came in, the box was a little beat up. As I unpacked it and did the inspection, there was nothing scratched up or dinged up on the frame. Once I started unpacking the frame, you can see here, there's a lot of plastic. They wrapped this thing really good. One thing I was surprised about, one of the first things, there's a little tiny package, bubble wrap package, stuck to the top of the frame. It's a headset. Headset's included. I generally run Can Creek headsets, and I already had one here ready to build the frame up, so the headset that came with it is sitting as a spare in the box. Once I got the frame outside into the sunshine and really started inspecting it, I could see there was a couple tiny runs in the paint. Nothing major though, but for the price I can't complain. I mean, the paint job's really good for the price you're paying. Then I started inspecting the carbon. The carbon could be a little cleaner. It's really thin and really hard. I can't see any defects in the carbon also on the inside, but there are some rest pieces hanging around on the inside of the bags, and it's just not as clean as it could be, and not as clean as it would be, say, if you bought a frame from, well, like this frame's kind of a mirror of Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz frames, I've painted one, and I've built up a couple. They are much, much cleaner, and you can tell there's more attention to detail to the frames. But for the price you're paying for this, I can't say it. You're paying a sixth of the price as you would for a Santa Cruz frame, so it's a give or take. As we keep going around the frame and inspecting it, I took apart all of the pivots to check them out and took all the hardware out. Well, you got to take it out anyways to get the rear shock in. You can't get the rear shock in without removing the rear triangle. But one of the first things I noticed is there was no thread lock on any of the bolts. So if you're going to buy this frame, make sure you pull out all of the hardware and thread lock it and put it back together. There's no torque specs on any of the bolts, and of course you can't find them online, so you're just going to have to use common sense when putting them back in. If you built up any other frames, you've kind of got a feeling for about those torque specs that each bolt needs. If you haven't, take it to a bike shop if you need to, or just ask somebody to help you that has built up a frame in the past. The head tube ports, they're not finished very well. Actually, one of them, when I went to put my brake cable through it, it didn't actually fit, so I had to ream it out really slowly, little by little, and try to keep the paint from cracking. Sooner or later, I got the brake cable, or brake hose, if you will, brake hose to go through there. Next thing I noticed is actually in the bottom bracket, the threads were really clean. I've bought much more expensive frames, and I've worked on much more expensive frames that had much worse conditioned threads for the bottom bracket. They threaded right in, nice, smooth, no issues. All of the cable ports where they come out have these little plastic covers that click in. They all work pretty good, except for this one in the back. As you see, it doesn't stay in. It doesn't want to do its thing. Yeah, maybe I'll shoe glue it in there just to keep it in so it doesn't rattle around. I mean, they're kind of nice, so makes it look a little better, a little cleaner. The seat tube here, it's really short, of course, because of VPP. Your rear shock runs underneath it, so it's really short. If you're not sure of what size dropper you're going to be able to fit, then wait to get the frame and then measure it out. There's no measurements online. If there's one thing I could ask Meinier to do, it would be to include that measurement, the depth measurement. I actually had a 150 millimeter dropper just laying around. I threw it in there, and luckily it's pretty close. It could go down maybe 3 or 4 millimeters lower. It's a tiny bit too high, but it's going to work for now. I'm not really too worried about it. I'll replace the dropper as soon as I get the funds or find another dropper cheap. I'm not trying to spend too much money on this frame just yet. I actually built this frame up in a really budget build because I figured if people are going to buy this frame, they're not going to throw the best parts at it, right? So I picked up RockShox Lyric Select 160 millimeter. It's a 2000. Oh, sorry, it's a Select Plus. It's a 2022 model. Gave it a quick service. The shock, we have a regular old Deluxe Select Plus also. Oh, I like that Select Plus. I've ridden the shock before too on other bikes, so I kind of know how it performs. The whole shifting system is a mix of SRAM transmission, 70 out back and 90 for the shifter. GX cassette I had laying around, and a set of GX cranks I had laying around. Most of the parts are just scrounged up from other places or from friends or whatever. Just trying to get this thing put together cheap and do a review on a budget build. Wheels 29-inch, also just had them laying around. The Maxxis tires that are on it, I don't usually run Maxxis tires. I'm kind of a Vittoria fan, but these are the tires that came on my Ghost Path Riot, so I slapped them on there. For braking, I also just threw on a set of brakes, a set of cheap brakes that I really love. They come from Formula, they're the Cura 2-pot brakes. These brakes are amazing. Massive amount of power for a 2-pot. Actually, a lot more power than many 4-pot brakes I've ridden. And also, really good modulation. Building the bike went pretty smoothly. I mean, it doesn't have any tube-in-tube routing inside for the hoses and the cables. Yeah, what can you expect for that price? I mean, Cube doesn't offer that either, and there's many brands that don't, so I would actually compare this frame to the quality of a Cube or a Canyon. They're about the same. The head tube area is almost identical to every Cube and Canyon I've worked on. One of my big gripes, though, by the build is when I went to put on the SRAM transmission, it comes with an axle and a UDH derailleur hanger. Well, we'll call it UDH compatible because the threads are different. Yeah, kind of threw me in a ring there when I went to throw the axle in, and this is 1.5 pitch axle, and that's 1.0. So if you're going to run transmission, you have to get yourself a new axle. The transmission actually works really well on it. Whoa, I almost dropped my camera. Straighten that back up. That was one of the things I was actually worried about, is that it wouldn't actually fit right. That I tried to put the transmission on there and it wouldn't sit right, or it'd be too loose or it'd be too tight. But no, it works just fine. So thank you, Meinier or Meinier, for actually getting that right, because I really wanted to run the transmission on here, because I have not tried mechanical transmission on a long term yet. So we'll be doing a long term review on this mechanical transmission as well as on this bike frame. One of the things you might be interested in is the geometry. It is listed on eBay and on AliExpress. I got a little geometry chart. I wanted to check how close it was, and the only thing I really checked so far is the head angle. On their chart, the head angle is listed as 65.5 degrees on 29-inch wheels. I was originally going to build this up as a mullet because I wanted a tiny bit slacker. When I built it up as a mullet, the head angle was way slack. It was, I think it was 63.2 or something like that. It was something crazy. It was slacker than my Ghost Path Riot. So I threw these 29-inch wheels on and measured up. It was 64.4 degrees. So 1.1 degrees slacker than what they have on their chart. I haven't measured all of the other measurements yet, like bottom bracket drop, actual reach, actual wheelbase, and everything. I'll get those measured up as I test the bike some more, and we'll get that info out to you guys in the next video. What are my plans going forward with this frame? Well, I want to thrash it. I want to beat this frame up and ride it just like I ride any other bike, and push it hard, push it to its limits. If it breaks, it breaks. If it doesn't, good for me. Hope it doesn't break, because you might get injured in that, right? But that's the risk I'm willing to take to help you guys out, to give you guys the information. If the frame holds up, maybe we'll go to a higher build standard, I guess, later. The better fork, better shock in it, and see how it really feels. One of the first things I'm doing with this bike is I actually got it built up in time, and I am taking it with me down to Austria to the Bucket Ride Festival, and we're going to hit the trails down there on the Fokker Sea trails, and maybe go over and hit the Oziaker Sea trails, and yeah, run some trails with it, see how it does. And we'll also get some opinions from other people down there and see what they think about it, what their ideas are from just looking at the frame. If somebody wants to ride it, I'll let them ride it. When this video comes out, I'll either be driving down there or already be down there. So if you're down there, see you there. Yeah, that's, well, pretty much it. That's all I got for you guys right now. Come back and see me at the channel. Definitely subscribe if you want to see what goes on with this frame. Follow the Chronicles of the Frame. Maybe we'll name it that. Yeah, the Chronicles of the Chinese Frame. Anyways, yeah. So hopefully we see you guys at the channel again. And yeah, never stop shredding. Dave out.